It is the year 2472, and the Earth has suffered a great calamity. Hundreds of years of popular culture have vanished. Without the sacred films and texts for guidance, civilization is devoid of anything cool. Then, 3 incubation chambers are unearthed, and from within, men from the time of the great blockbusters emerge. Now, through highly interesting conversations, they share invaluable insight about what once was. The movies, the shows, the comics, toys, and books. This is
The Hyperspace.
Podcasting in the 25th century.
Welcome in, podcast pioneers, to the Hyperspace. Podcasting in the 25th century, the Interweb's first and still only podcast. My name's Matt.
I'm Jared.
I'm Mike.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey, what's happening?
Not too much. How's life in the tubes? 25th century living, guys?
Well, you know, I did a little time travel and went back in time and took a vacation.
Oh, nice. Where'd you go?
I went to the 21st century.
Nice.
Back when I still had a family. And we all spent some time in Tennessee.
I mean, technically, you still have a family in the 25th century.
Yeah,
I
do.
They're kind of like, you know.
I don't
hard
talk
to
to them.
recognize.
They are my, I consider them my distant antecedents. I guess.
Mine are still growing.
I see. Yeah, so I don't talk to my 25th century contemporary family too much. I prefer to go back to the days when, you know, I had a mother and father and siblings and a wife and child. Those were the happy times. Fortunately, time travel allows me to experience that every once in a while. So, that's where I've been.
Nice.
What about you guys?
Well, I've been sitting in my tube, staring out the window at all the traffic. And
Yes.
Mike, what's going on over there? You all right?
No, I just do my side gig in the space in the future.
Driving for tuber?
In the future. And,
We got to start up a new show about your tuber exploits. I'm sure that that would be amazing.
Well, I picked up a couple the other night from a party, and they were a little gone, I guess to say. And they were waiting on a third person, so we're sitting in the car, and they're friendly enough. And then the girl they're waiting on comes, and she's got 2 more people, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I mean, I could feasibly fit this many people in here. And but she goes, I'm going to have to ride in the trunk. And I thought she was joking. So I'm sitting there and I see her walk around to the back of my car and start to like lift up the back and I'm like, is she trying to get in my trunk? So she was, but that would have been a whole different story.
Wait, did you let her in your trunk?
No, she didn't. She couldn't figure out how to open it, but I wasn't going to let her anyway. Man. So I was going to, but I said to the guy, because the guy was sitting next to me, and I went, is she trying to get in my trunk? So then she was like,
like college all over again, isn't it?
No, these were like adults, like my age people. And so she decided she was not going to do the ride share with them and her new friend. So I just took the couple. He was pretty nice, but then at one point, it was close to the end of the ride, and he dropped his phone, and it went under the seat of where he was sitting. And he was trying to get his wife to get him the phone, and he was saying, "Hey, will you hand me my phone?" And she's like, "It's not going anywhere. Don't worry about it." And then he'd sit still for a minute, and then he just, I can't believe you're not going to get my phone for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is about to turn into something. But it didn't. I thought he was going to start literally yelling at his wife for not getting the phone from under the car.
That reminds me of something. Long time ago, for a place where we all used to work, we did a show out of Nashville, Tennessee. And Jared, I think were you there for both or just one? Jared?
Just one.
Were you there when Glenn was there? Okay.
I don't recall if Glenn was there.
So we got a buddy who we all know his name's Glenn.
Oh, yeah.
And Glenn, he's an interesting individual. A lot of energy. And Glenn wears these very thick glasses, and he drove a few of us to the studio from the hotel. He wanted to drive, and it was the scariest moment of my life with him driving on the interstate through construction traffic. I felt like I was in like the Indianapolis 500. It was terrifying, and I don't get scared in cars, but it was a white knuckle experience. Someone in the backseat was lighting a cigarette up. I think they figured it was the last thing they were doing, so they're going to go out. But we had a show, and it was a very successful show. It was a long run. I think we were there for almost a week. And we did a wrap on our show, and at the end, a few people decided to maybe visit a place of ill repute where, maybe some people dance for a living.
Remove their clothing.
Yes. So Glenn was driving again. And now this was a minivan we were driving. And I don't know how we got the minivan. It was a minivan, though. So we all pile in, and a few people that we worked with, like I mentioned, names were all in it. I got relegated to the back trunk area of the minivan. And if you know what that looks like, it's like a maybe a foot and a half piece of real estate by maybe like 3.5 feet. So I was crammed in there. I'm not a small guy either, so I was crammed in there. Glenn was driving, and next to Glenn was one of our very pretty models that came up with us to, model fashion and whatnot. And Glenn at the bar that night had held her purse for her because she asked him to. And she said, and this is while we're driving, all right? And this is a full, in a minivan, there's probably 10 people packed into this thing. She puts her hand on his leg and says, Glenn, because you held my purse all night, I'm buying you the first dance. And as soon as she put her hand on his leg, we started swerving at 90 miles an hour. And I thought we were dead. And I figured, well, I'm the first to go because I'm going to start being bounced around like a pinball.
Yeah. The back's going to pop open.
And just then, the phone rings. Somebody picks it up. And it might have been one of somebody's boss who had heard about the trip and called us back. So I actually considered myself lucky because I think if I completed that trip, I wouldn't have made it. But trunk riding certainly is not the way to go. So it was a good move for her not to get in there.
Don't trunk and drive.
Trunk and drive. But so guys, we had a busy week. We learned about some cool movies last week about what sequels we want to see.
Yeah.
We got some Karate Kid in the... We just heard Karate Kid just came back out.
If you haven't listened to the Karate Kid 3 show, man, I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back, but I laughed a lot listening to that.
And the best part about that show is you can listen to it on your podcatcher, or you can go to YouTube, one of our 2 channels, and you can watch a great video that Mike made of us watching it and reacting to it.
Yeah, and you see the movie on the video. So
it is pretty funny. You don't realize when we're recording this, we don't realize how funny some of the stuff is. But when you put it in context of that movie and then you listen, we were laughing ourselves. So we recommend that one. If you want to start somewhere, that's a good one to start.
Assuming you haven't started with this one.
Yeah, exactly right. If you just discovered us, discover more. We've got a lot. Subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. We've got a great website. We've got a great YouTube channel, and we have a very extensive podcast with a lot of different shows. So it's a lot to discover.
This is our 2nd year we just started.
And we have a store.
Yes.
We do have a store.
A store. Go buy T-shirts. Matt's wearing one. There it is. The Hyperspace. Come on. Speaking of stores.
Yes.
And buying stuff. I do have a Conan update.
Crush your enemies.
Issue 8.
Ooh, you found it.
Issue 8.
Let me see what that cover looks like.
Is that like a robot? Is he fighting a transformer? What is that?
No, he's they're the keepers of the crypt.
Oh, so they're crypt keepers.
Apparently.
15 cents. Wow.
There's a woman there.
She looks happy.
Yeah, she's collecting all the jewels.
What year is that?
Like a 50s glam, like a flapper kind of girl.
This would be 71.
Wow, comics were 15 cents in 71. Wow.
Yeah.
That's like a year before I was born.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm on the march towards issue 10.
So how many Conan issues are there of the original run?
273 or 78. I can't remember. So I have more than the first 8 issues. I've actually, as I've seen them, I've been buying up later issues for very decent prices. I think I have a complete run from like issue 35 to issue 52. And then some others sprinkled here and there. But yeah, I'm still working on the first 10.
Well, everyone needs to collect something, right?
Yes, which I've apparently over the past year have caught the bug again. I think it actually started like last year when I visited Tennessee, and me and Mike went up to the the soon-to-be abandoned comic shop where we both used to buy comic books, and we were looking into the glass at all of the abandoned.
Yeah, the story was abandoned. It was like out of The Walking Dead.
There was even a note on the door that was poorly written and in broken English.
Scrawled,
posted that up
on some label or something he had ripped off of a can.
The owner said that he had closed for the coronavirus.
He said he was afraid of it. He didn't want it, and
to give him a call, he might be open next Saturday. But who the heck knows when he put that note up?
Yeah,
it could have been any time. And as
he's probably like in the woods living with like a can of beans right now, thinking the world is ended.
He might be, because just a few months later, I think, Mike, did you go back up there and find out that that an auction company had bought that place?
I went back, and there was one of those realtor locks on the door.
Yes.
And so I knew that meant it was I knew it was for sale. And Jared, you're the one who found. You're the one who I think you're the one who researched it and found out that it was being auctioned.
Oh, yeah, right. You guys got a couple like posters or something from in there, right?
Well, no, we won it. There was some posters we wanted really, really bad, and those things just ended up in the trash. Sadly
they did
enough,
because those posters, they were Punisher posters.
They were there when we went.
Yeah, they had been up there since the mid '80s, and when we were looking through the glass, we could see they were the same posters hanging in the same spot, like sun faded.
Yeah, they were faded.
And so me and Mike, when I had actually visited, it was my mission. I told Mike, I want to buy one of those posters just to see if they'll sell them to me. Because I've been looking at those posters at that point for like 30 years. And I was like, man, I just want to buy one. So anyway, I did some digging. I found the auction company that was auctioning off their stuff. And I actually bought quite a few things from them. And I think that's really where I started to like get the itch again. Because, I wanted to buy something from them just because I wanted to have something from that place, that was there when I was a kid, and, a lot of good memories associated with it. So, I was buying a couple of books here and there, not spending too much money, and they would ship it to me. But then they were auctioning off the sign, the shingle that hung in front of the store saying Clinton Cards, Comics, and Collectibles. And I was like, man, I probably don't need to be buying this, but it's really hard to resist. So I put a bid in on it, and I think I ended up paying like $150 for it. And then like another $75 for them to ship it.
Was it $75 to ship?
Yeah, it was big. And it was, it was heavy. And before I moved into this tube here, you used to be able to see it hanging behind me.
Oh, that's right.
But about that same time, Retro Rat opened here in Largo, Florida. And I started spending some time in that shop and got to know the guys who ran it. And I was like, man, this stuff's just a lot of fun. And I found I have a decent amount of disposable income now, and I was like, sure, I could renovate the house, but it's more fun to buy comic books. So, I've just been, for the past year or so, I've been just picking things that I enjoy, picking finite things. Like, look, you look at a collection like Brian the Collector, who we've had on the show several times.
I just want to say I recently visited him, and it's just continues to grow.
His collection is crazy.
I told him he needed to display his stuff better, because it's the way he has it displayed, and I know he listens, and I'm not knocking him. I actually mean this as a compliment. He really needs to find a really cool way to display that stuff, because he's got some really neat stuff.
When I'm fortunate enough to visit him, I love looking at his collection, but that kind of thing is just not in my wheelhouse. As far as, like, Brian will just blind buy collections from people who are, hey, I'm selling my Star Wars stuff for $2,000. And Brian will just buy collections, and he'll take what he wants from it, and then he'll piece it out to resell it, and usually make twice his money back.
My favorite, just as a quick side, my favorite story of that is when he bought that Millennium Falcon.
Oh, man.
And then he opened the cockpit, and it had that super rare snaggletooth in it.
Yeah. Well, he bought the...
Didn't he burn the original one? Didn't he have one?
He burned it.
That's right.
But he bought it was the new Millennium Falcon, but it was like the giant one. And he got it for $5.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And then he found that snaggletooth in the cockpit.
Yeah, he's like, this is a $500 figure. Okay. See, I don't get that lucky. Brian finds things like that. Yeah. I mean, he bought a Star Wars collection a couple years back, and within the collection was a John Williams autograph.
Really?
Yes. And he has since taken the autograph and, put it with, and displayed it very nicely. And I was like, man, did you even know? He's like, no, I had no idea it was in there. I just, I found it. And then I asked the guy about it. He told me how he got it. And I was like, God, man, what? But anyway, I'm not Brian. First of all, I don't have the square footage that he has. I have this room. My tube is basically about a bedroom size. It's my office that my wife allows me to do with as I will. And I'm interested in collecting things that have I have a connection with. I'm working on completing the original Kenner Star Wars line from the 70s and 80s. I think Brian was actually over at my house last month, and we figured out I need like 6 or 7 figures to complete it. And once I've done that, I'm okay with that. I'm not looking for variants of, brown hair Luke, orange hair Luke. I don't really care about that. I just like to have one of each. Unfortunately, the ones I'm lacking are the more expensive ones. The good thing about that is they're not making any more, so I don't have to worry about falling behind.
You're going to get the droids figures?
I'm not going for droids or Ewoks. I'm just not. I say that now. Check with me in a year, but I don't think so. And as far as toys go, Brian did secure me a Ripcord action figure, which was from G.I. Joe. It was the first G.I. Joe I had, and he got me one in very nice condition, complete with all his weapons and his file card.
Wasn't that the parachute shooter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was
my brother had that one.
Yeah, he had the little mask with the tube.
And I remember his bio said he wanted to be a pianist, but his fingers were too small, right?
I don't know. I could probably check the file card. But you maybe.
I'd like to know if I remember that correctly.
But so I do have a ripcord in excellent condition, thanks to Brian. And Brian has helped me out tremendously with the Star Wars and G.I. Joe. And I've got a few Transformers. From Retro Rat, I got an Ultra Magnus. And Brian gave me a kind of a beater Optimus Prime that's kind of beat up. But I would like to get a few more of those, just the ones I remember having as a kid. But it's too much.
Speaking of Optimus Prime, do you remember that Optimus I got on eBay straight from China?
Yeah, the $30 one that's...
Oh, my God.
That's amazing.
It's unbelievable. Mike, did I ever show that to you? I showed that to you, didn't I? That thing is unbelievable. So my son has it now. And, the only thing that it is virtually identical. It's flawless.
Even the packaging. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really amazing. But the stickers, the decals, are a little flimsy. They pop off a little. So the stickers don't stick as well. But it's unbelievable. But, I had my original Optimus Prime with his hand still. His hands, he has no gun. But I still have the original. I don't have the trailer. Just his big fists. But, those things are great. And if you can, what it is, to your point, you don't have to have all of him. You just need to have a little touch point back to your past that is good enough,
Yeah.
And I guess that's what collecting does for people. And it also, even if it's just small pieces of a collection, gives you that little portal to the past.
And that's the only reason it really interests me is because it's like, this is something I had when I was a kid and it brought me a lot of joy. And, that's why I would like to have, a couple of Transformers. The ones I'm looking for are Optimus Prime, Mirage.
Oh, we had that one too.
Who was the F1 racer, and Skywarp. He was one of the F-15 fighter pilots that work with Megatron.
Mirage was Sunstreaker's brother.
Starscream was one of my favorites, actually. I like Starscream.
Starscream was cool, but I never had him.
Oh, you didn't have him at all?
No, and I didn't have Ultra Magnus either, but that was a case of, that was kind of like an adult wish fulfillment, because I wanted Ultra Magnus, and I saw him at Retro Rat, and I actually traded in a bunch of Star Wars stuff, and got him for free.
I had Ultra Magnus as a kid, and I remember I didn't realize that Ultra Magnus had basically the white Optimus Prime
he was just on Optimus Prime white.
And I was kind of like, and it had like all the accessories. And I remember thinking like, it's not quite as cool as I thought, but it's still cool.
Well, yeah, once you have to put all the extra crap on it to make him look different.
Right, exactly.
But
I'll tell you what,
the
biggest disappointment of any Transformer I ever had was I had Omega 1. Remember
I don't remember Omega.
Wasn't
1.
Omega the one that we just saw him in if you watch the recent Transformers on Netflix, which by the way is amazing and everyone should watch if you're a Transformers fan. He's one of the Titan Transformers that.
Oh yes.
So
well, you talking about the one that was the tank that went around on the track and you transformed him. He walked. Yeah, we had that one. I thought that one was cool.
It had this kind of claw thing.
My brother had that, and I thought that one was awesome.
The problem with me is the scaling of Transformers didn't make sense.
It's all over the place. The scaling was all over the place.
And that was the problem. It's like, you had, to your point, like a little train would go around, and you're trying to think, well, how big is this supposed to be? And then when you're trying to play with it with the other Transformers, you're like, well, something's off. But I don't know.
They didn't have that problem of scale in the cartoon because they were all sort of similar. But that's the thing with Transformers. They were all taken from Japan on these different toy lines. And Hasbro just said, oh, well, they're all the same. They're all from the same place.
Right.
So, but, another thing, this is another, childhood holy grail. It's G.I. Joe number 2. First printing, and I picked this up in Nashville for $10, which is a really good price. And G.I. Joe 2, as I've talked about before, was another kind of unreachable comic because when I was a kid, it was $40.
That's crazy.
And because the print run was so low. And, so for a long time, I didn't know what happened in issue 2 of of G.I. Joe because I couldn't afford to get it. I eventually got a reprint of it, but when I saw that in Nashville, I was like, and so now I got to start buying G.I. Joe comic books.
Yeah,
it's a sickness.
All spiral, cascades into a whole lifestyle. And
yeah, Mike said it. He's like, this is an addiction. You're going to end up in some sort of halfway house.
I think you just have to pick your lane and stick in it, right?
Sure.
You can't just be like, well, I'm just going to blindly drive in this whole freeway. You got to pick your lane, stay in your lane, and I think you'll be fine. And if that's collecting, G.I. Joe and Conan comics, then that's what it is. But, I'll tell you a quick story. A buddy of mine, who I should bring him on the podcast. He's an interesting guy. His name is Pete. Pete has a predilection to collect everything. Everything. Okay. He's a collector, a true collector, and it's amazing. Like I remember in college, like what was the newer like Transformers that came out in like the mid to late 90s, or not Transformers? I'm sorry, Star Wars figures. Was it Power of the Force?
The Power of the Force 2.
Right.
No, that was when it came back.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it came back. He bought them all up. Beanie Babies. Had to have every Beanie Baby he could find. And he's like looking through like, the catalogs and the collector catalogs of pricing and stuff. He's fascinated by it. Baseball cards, basketball cards. Now it's like, what are those dolls? Are they Bunko? What are those things?
Funko Pops.
That's what they are. He's got those.
Oh my gosh,
there's
like
a
Hot million of those.
He does Hot Wheels cars. I mean, the guy he loves to collect. That's his obsession. He picks something and he goes with it. Simpsons. He had every kind of Simpsons thing in the world. I can't imagine what his collection must have cost. And he did sell it. I don't know what he sold the whole thing. But he had a whole room, a massive room. It was unbelievable. I mean, everything was Simpsons. I mean, from little figures to mugs to unbelievable. But it becomes an obsession, and it becomes the collecting becomes more important than the item. But it's like that's why I say you got to pick your lane and stay in it when you collect, because it can just become a lifestyle where it isn't anymore about like you got the item. It just becomes getting the next item. And and I think you lose the kind of heart to why you're doing it. Like to your point, you have the G.I. Joe #2 in your hand now. It's an original comic. It's printed from the time you wanted it. It's the actual comic that existed back when you were looking for it, and now it's in your hand finally. And it probably means more to you now than it ever would have back in the day.
Yeah,
because you have it,
and
that's an important thing. But if you let that go crazy and you collect G.I. Joe number 35 or 322, it has no real value except for the fact that you just want to complete a collection because that's what you've done. So you can make choices on how you collect and what you collect.
Yeah. I'm in no financial position to just indiscriminately just start buying things.
I've tried. My friend Pete is either.
Oh, okay. It's one of those.
He's a good guy. I'm certainly not putting him down. He's very, very talented, and he has a heck of an eye for collecting. He's certainly,
well,
you should do this for a living.
Tell him to listen to the show.
He should take people that should be his job. If people are like obsessed with collecting, he can hunt down anything and find everything associated with it. It's a talent. It's amazing to watch the guy.
Wow.
But
Mike, I'm going to turn this to you real quick because I remember something you bought in the early 2000s. You had just about every single Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. I still do, actually.
Do you still have those?
Yeah, I have them boxed up.
Man, I thought you sold those.
No, I kept those. I was going to hold them for the boys, but they never really got into playing with toys like that. But I gave them a couple. We opened a couple for them, but most of them are still boxed. I would say through the release of Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, I think I got all of them that were released. And then Return of the King is when I think the first couple waves that came out, and then I kind of fell off with that. So I don't have all of them, but I'd say I have a majority of them.
Well, I remember looking at those, and Mike moved around a lot when he lived in Florida, but I think I remember moving those things a lot.
They weren't heavy. At least the boxes weren't heavy.
No, and I liked looking at them. I remember you had Treebeard.
They're cool. Yeah.
Treebeard was like a giant.
Yeah, he was almost not quite to scale to the figures. Now, what's interesting, a separate company, I think it was NECA, they made a Balrog that was to scale to the figures. And this thing was monstrous.
Like 3 feet tall.
And I saw it at McKay's once. And I thought, I think it was like $175. And I was like, oh, man, that would be cool. But
You shall not pass!
I just didn't have anywhere to put it, and I didn't want to spend money for that. But it was neat. It was cool. The Treebeard wasn't quite to scale. It was close. I mean, it was bigger. The Sauron figure is, I think, to scale compared to the other toys. But those toys were very cool. They were very well made.
They were like around the 6-inch variety.
Yes, they were bigger. And what's interesting is when The Hobbit came out, they released figures, but the figures were like 3-inch. And then people, I guess, either weren't buying them or griped. So for a little bit of time, they released Hobbit figures that were the same scale as the Lord of the Ring figures.
That's weird.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
What's that?
That they would have
It was a different company.
Oh, okay.
Because the company that made Lord of the Rings, I think, was Toy Biz.
Yes.
And they're not around anymore. They weren't around by the time The Hobbit came out.
They should have put the Hobbits in like 2-packs so you get your money's worth. Like you get a Frodo and Sam. And
the figures came with like a lot of cool stuff. And I even got there was a mail order for a Uruk-hai, which I got. I got him. And so, yeah, like I said, through Fellowship and Two Towers and the first couple waves of Return of the King, I'm pretty sure I got everything. I used to go to Target that was down there on where I lived in. My first apartment I lived in, there was that Target on the corner. And I used to go there and look for...
In Largo Mall.
Yeah,
Still there.
I used to look for figures as they came out. And I was on like there was a actions-figure.com, and people would post, they got him down at blah, 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 or you can see the na-na-na.
Before Facebook groups.
Well, so...
Well, I remember going on a couple of runs with you to... There was a brand new Super Target that opened in Clearwater, and you went down there. Me and you went in there a couple of times looking for Return of the King figures, if I remember correctly. But you said there was some rare... Did they make some rare Bilbo figure or something?
There was a Peter Jackson Hobbit figure.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's the one.
I think... Well, didn't they make a young Bilbo figure?
Yeah, I think I have that one.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I have that.
But it was obviously the young Ian Holm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wait, so a mail-in. So you're talking about like you take a proof of purchase and mail it in, or how would you do it?
I think you had to buy. Well, I know they had. You remember they had the Obi-Wan, like Ghost.
Yes.
Mailway. I think they had to buy Frito potato chips to get that.
Really, I remember the mail-in. People don't probably. I mean, if you're younger listening to this, you're probably like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
The mail-aways.
Like when I was a kid. If you, on the back of toys, they had like the card, you could cut out the proof of purchase, and it was called proof of purchase. And you collected these things, and if for Transformers, I'll give you an example. I had so many, and finally I had enough to go and get like the mail-in Transformer, and it was Overdrive. This thing
was that one of the reinforcements from Cybertron?
It was like an Omnibot, they called it.
Okay,
his name was Overdrive, and it looked kind of like I forget what he looked like when he transformed, but. But it was like nobody could get it unless you mailed it in. So if you had it, you're like,
I had one of those.
Mail in stuff. Man.
Well, the newer ones, I think they got away from the UPC because I don't think people wanted to deface. I think it was tied in with like if you bought this brand, like I'm pretty sure like with Star Wars it was
cereal.
But I'm pretty sure the Obi one was potato chips because I got that one. But yeah, Han Solo I think was with cereal. You got the Han Solo.
It was Fruit Loops
with the helmet.
Yeah, it was the Han Solo and Stormtrooper disguise.
Yeah, and I thought that was a big deal to me because when I was a kid, it drove me crazy that they didn't have a Luke Skywalker or Han Solo in a Stormtrooper suit with a removable helmet. That just made me nuts.
Well, they did make one in 1985 for Luke, but not for Han.
That was Power of the Force, and that's when I was out of it.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, the mail-aways were crazy. I got Emperor Palpatine as a mail-away.
We did too. That's actually from the original line. That's the only one we got was Emperor Palpatine, or the Emperor.
The Emperor.
Man, and it was just one of those things because it would take them so long to ship. Like it'd be like 2 months for you.
You'd almost forget about it. You just go to the mail one day and you'd be like, "What's
that
this?"
little box?"
Yeah,
that little box showed up. It's like, "Oh, I got the Emperor." And Anakin Skywalker was also a mail away.
Sebastian Shaw.
Yes, I actually have him on a card. I don't have him loose. I'm looking at my figures now.
Oh, really? What was he like? Just in the Vader suit with his head?
No, he was just the old man in his Jedi robes.
Oh, just like.
Yeah, just the ghost
man.
Old man.
Well, the famous one, of course, is Boba Fett. That was I think the first mail-in wedding. Boba Fett.
I don't. Yeah, well, they advertised him with the rocket firing, but they canceled that, and I think you got Bosk instead. But I could be wrong about that. But people to this day swear up and down they got this rocket firing Boba Fett in the mail. That never happened. They never, because
you know what it was. They probably just ripped that rocket out and they just were playing with it that way.
Maybe.
Well, I always, as a kid, wanted that rocket to come out. I'm like, why doesn't this come out?
I was reading, like the Battlestar Galactica toys had a launching torpedo in them, and apparently those things were notoriously hated because kids left and right were swallowing the torpedos.
Well, that's sure what the kids do. You know?
And I was one of those kids.
You're probably out throwing like lawn darts
because
at each other too.
Because of Mike, we never got our rocket firing Boba Fett. No, because a kid died from that Battlestar Galactica.
Right. Oh, I didn't know that a kid died.
Yeah, that's why they.
I had that. Those toys were cool. The Viper that they made in this.
I had a few. I had a couple of those. I had the Daggett, and I had the.
But you talk about not matching scale because the figures that came with those ships were like.
Yes, that's exactly what I had. That one right there, and I had in the original TV movie, they encountered like some underground lizard people.
Yes,
the Ovarians or whatever they're called.
And I had one of those, and with that kind of like the gossamer cape and stuff.
Yes,
so
the gossamer.
Cool. The Ovions. That's what they're called. The Ovions.
Ovions.
They were great toys. They're great toys. Was it Mego? That wasn't Mego that made those, was it?
Mattel made the Battlestar Galactica.
Mattel.
And the thing that was weird about the Buck Rogers figures, and maybe the Battlestar figures, but I know for sure Buck Rogers, they had no face. They had features, like they had a nose and a mouth, but there was no paint application on the face.
That's weird.
It was really kind of lazy. If you
was there like a white sausage expanding Buck Rogers?
That would be completely awesome if true. Well, maybe these did have a face. Maybe it was the Battlestar.
No, I'm looking at them now. They did have faces, but it looks like for the majority of them, they didn't have any paint on their faces.
Yeah,
like except the ones that had mustaches got paint, but the rest of them were just.
Was there a TV show that had like a real good, successful like toy line?
Oh,
like a live action show.
I'd say $6 Million Man was pretty successful.
I don't know. I mean, that's a little before my toy days.
I loved my $6 Million Man and my Oscar with the exploding suitcase.
Did you have the Bigfoot?
I didn't have the Bigfoot, but I had the.
Did they sell the Bigfoot?
They did, and I had
look that up.
I had the operating table that was also a rocket.
Oh, right. Wow. The Bigfoot toy for $6 Million Man was actually used as a mock-up for the Chewbacca 12-inch toy.
Is that right?
Yeah. And it looked really strange.
I tell you, a big thing that was big for me when I was a kid was Topps cards.
Oh, yeah.
Like, especially for movies I didn't get to go see in the theater, like Gremlins and Raiders of the Lost Ark. I had those trading cards. Star Wars, I had those coming out my ears.
Yeah.
I had some for Star Trek: The Motion Picture. And the cool thing about the cards is they would show. I didn't have that one. They would show the aliens that were always in the background. They'd always have like a featured card. So
yeah.
You got like a better look at their face.
Yeah, that big scene in the motion picture where the whole crew is assembled.
There's like that one with the purple head with the big yellow eyeballs. That's one that stands out for me.
Saurian.
Yeah. And,
yeah. And I collected actually collected baseball cards for a while, and I was really into the Chicago Cubs throughout most of the 80s, which is, man, that's something that's really fallen by the wayside for me.
Garbage Pail Kids. I did Garbage Pail Kids.
Man.
What was awesome is when I was in high school, because I got those when I was in middle school, the Garbage Pail Kids. That's when they were big. But then when I moved to Halls, there was a Big Lots across the street, and they were selling Garbage Pail Kid boxes, unopened,
like cases.
Yes. And man, me and my brother, we were just buying those. I still have like a ton of Garbage Pail Kids, but it was like amazing. We were like, they're selling these. Oh my gosh! And we bought them, and we were open. The gum was heinous because it was like years old. Like, we didn't even like. I think we both like had one piece just out of curiosity, and after that, they immediately went in the trash because it was so disgusting.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Back in the late 1990s at Shop at Home, Don West. Ken Griffey Jr. rookies. I tell you what.
And your John Elway Jim that 10 rookie, that's about $4,000. You're going to absolutely freak out because we've got them all.
He called me on air because he would, every time he had an old wax pack of baseball cards that still had the gum in it, he called me and he would open them on air. He would bring out the old gum and say, "Jared, come on out here." I was like the monkey that he gave this stuff to. The oldest gum I ever ate was from a 1955 wax pack.
Are you serious?
Yes. He pulled that gum out. The gum is like a pink strip about this long. Mm-hmm. This thing had shriveled into this brown, like curved brown, like
sausage
brittle.
Or bacon.
You ate that?
And I ate it.
Oh, you savage.
No flavor whatsoever. It instantly dissolved in my mouth.
Releasing the toxins straight into your bloodstream.
Man, if I wish I had some of that footage, because some people actually put it off on a VHS for me back in the day when I would do this. And Don would just be like, "I can't believe, oh my God, what are you doing?"
I bet you I can track that down. I'm gonna find some footage of you eating gum.
From 1955, that's my claim to fame.
Yeah, go to YouTube, look up "idiot eats old gum" sports cards.
My dad once found in our garage an old MRE ration pack from when he was in Vietnam, and he called me in the garage. He's like, "Come here." Cracked it open, the little like can opener thing, and he's like, "Let's try it." I'm like, "No." He's like, "Yeah." And then it had like a little pack of cigarettes of like maybe like 10 cigarettes. He said, I see he didn't smoke. He said, "I used to just trade these for fruit cocktails." And there's a fruit cocktail, and there was like a chili bean thing. So he cracked everything open, and the fruit cocktail survived somehow. And
well, that stuff's supposed to last decades.
It's unbelievable. And, it had like pears in like a gelatin. And I'm thinking, I'm not trying this. And I didn't. But he tried it and he's like, yeah, it tastes the same. And he opened the other one up. And I guess that one didn't survive as well. And
what was it? Was it like the meat?
I don't know. It was like the chili. It was like a chili thing. And like he opened it. I don't know if it was chili, but it was something like that. Like a dust appeared. It went like the spores came out. And the engineers from Alien are waiting to like. But he didn't eat that one. But no, those MREs, that thing was funny. But like, it wasn't from 1955. It wasn't like from Korea.
Wow.
Where people eating gum.
Yeah. That was my claim to fame there for a little bit.
That's pretty funny, actually.
But if I wish I could find that stuff.
Before you wrap this up, I'm going to say, Jared, you've inspired me.
A
year ago or so, I started a collection and I kind of fizzled out with it. But based on you, I'm going to announce here that I'm going to restart my collection. And I've hold on, I'm going to get what I have so far.
Okay. I'm curious.
I've talked about this before. One of my favorite video games of all time is the Arkham games from Batman. So they made these cool figures from all four games. So far, this is battle damaged Arkham Knight. This was a GameStop exclusive. I found it used at McKay's.
What's the line called?
Just the Arkham series. There's 4 games: Origins, Asylum, City, and Knight. This is from Arkham Knight. And then I have the Joker from the Origins game.
Oh, yeah.
So that's cool.
So you've started buying these again?
Well, I haven't yet, but I'm going to. It's going to be slow because they're not cheap. So every now and then. It won't be like every
They're pretty substantial, actually.
Is that Killer Croc?
This is a Deadshot.
Oh,
from Arkham City, because he has the Arkham prison garb. And then I got 2 more, so don't worry, it's not going to take forever. This is a cool one. This is Scarecrow from Arkham Asylum.
Oh, yes. I remember
this
that
one
level.
Is very cool. If you played Arkham Knight, this guy probably scared the unholy crap out of you.
Oh, man, Bat. He's the... Yeah, there were some jump scares with
There's
that.
a scene where you're going up a building and he literally jumps from over the roof and makes you about crap your pants.
Yes.
So anyway, there's a checklist of them that's available.
And the good thing
online.
is, it's finite.
It's finite. It stops at Arkham Knight,
and that's.
But there's some. They have like Clayface and Solomon Grundy are like these
big
giant figures. So anyway, it won't be in every episode thing, but every now and then I'll see if I can track one down and
okay.
I'm looking forward to the updates. Just like I look forward to Conan updates.
Crush your enemies.
But no, this is an interesting discussion, guys. It was it's always fun to revisit the past, and now that we're in middle age, and we have a little, not really time on our hands, but we have a little extra money, and we it's nice to be able to acquire some of those tangible memories, and keep it nearby. It's kind of cool that we have access to that. It used to be back in the, I don't know what people did before the internet. I mean, it was just like a luck of the draw garage sale kind of thing, or conventions, I guess. But it's such an amazing thing to have this much access to things from your past. It really is very cool.
I got you that Y-Wing last Christmas.
That's right.
You said that was your favorite toy in the world.
It was. I have it. It was. In fact, I don't keep it out in the open because I don't want my son to touch it.
That's fine. That's fine.
Not yet, because he just can't appreciate how old and how cool that thing is.
Yeah.
But no, those are all cool touch points to our past, and to be able to have them and to be able to hold them and look at them and remember and enjoy them is something special. It's amazing to be able to get them. And so collect away, folks. Enjoy. Just like you should collect our episodes in the podcast.
Good point. We've got a whole collection, and the best thing about our podcast is it's free.
That's right.
And we guarantee you'll get your money's worth.
We're always there for you. We have a lot of great shows. If you haven't explored, check our channel out. Check our podcast out. You'll enjoy it. Share it with your friends and spread the word. Season 4 rolls on, everybody. Every Monday we are dropping new episodes. So, we will see you
next week.
You know you can't live without this content. So subscribe to The Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us next time as we take you into the 25th century.